Make sure my peace on good.
Silly. Good evening. Welcome to I'm Just Saying with NJ. Tonight's panelists are Cameron and Diane Wade, who've been married 39 years and firmly believes that compromise is the key to paradise. We also have Christopher and Lakeisha, who've been married for 14 years. They believe in love and commitment, and their foundational principle is a three-strand cord is not easily broken. And our host for this evening, NJ.
Good evening, everyone. It's your host, NJ. I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of I'm Just Saying. This month, we're going to have some amazing married couples with me. But on tonight, we have with us Cameron and Diane Wade, and we have Chris and Keisha Buckley. I'd like to welcome y'all to our new talk show, I'm Just Saying. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to ask my first question, and either couple could answer. So, my first question would be to you: being with a person over 10 years, I know you've had some ups and some downs. Have you ever been in a place that you wanted to walk away from the relationship? And if so, what caused you to stay? I'm just saying.
I can answer.
Go ahead and answer.
I can't remember exactly what the fight was or what the situation was, but once I realized something, I never looked back on anything else. Let me explain what I mean. We had a disagreement or a fight, and I think she might have gone to our daughter's place. In other words, we separated for a night. And I realized then what this relationship is all about. I don't want to be away from her. And once I realized that I don't ever want to be away from her, I never had that issue again. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm happy when I'm around her, and when she's not around me, I don't like it. So that makes it very easy for me.
Okay, Diane.
Wow. I probably would say there probably has been times. I don't remember a specific time, but we fuss a lot sometimes in the very beginning. But one of the things that I think is like it to me, it wasn't anything serious. Like you'll be arguing over why'd you put your jeans there? Something very insignificant, and you blow it all. Well, I'm going to speak for me. I would blow it all out of proportion into this big thing. And then when you look and think about it, you're like, that is so stupid. Why did you do that? So it was never anything really, really serious that ever made me want to leave and not come back.
Chris, Keisha.
You want to go first?
Well, I'll say we've definitely had disagreements, and there have definitely been times where I've said I need to walk out of the house and go outside and take a walk, but never to a point where I wanted to say, okay, well, that's it, it's done. Let's not do this no more. It's definitely been, that's one of the challenges I know for myself. Um, just making sure that we maintain that, and not keeping it where we had a disagreement and now just gonna just leave it where it was and just not do anything.
Keisha.
I would say that definitely had some hard times, difficult times where you just want to choke the person. But I wouldn't say anything that was worthy of walking away. Definitely worthy of reconciling some things, speaking about some things, discussing some things, particularly probably changing some things. But I would say overall, like, he's a good person. Like, he has integrity. He's honest. He's caring. He's very giving. So to me, nothing overrides. Like nothing has happened that makes me want to walk away from him because his core is a good person. Like at the core, he's a great guy, you know? So anything external to me, it wouldn't be worthy of me walking away from him.
All right, walk away. I'm not walking. So my next question is, after the wedding, the honeymoon, and children, how do you or how did you still make room for your mate? For those that's struggling because their relationship has changed now, because it's no longer just the two of them. Now there's a family, there's a blend. What would you say to the couples that's struggling, like he doesn't spend time with me anymore, she doesn't spend time with me no more? I'm just saying.
Well, I think when it comes down to dealing with children in a relationship, of course, your children are, very important. You have to give them more time than, when you first got married, you didn't have any. But you have to make time. You have to make time, and you have to. And I'm not talking about when your children are very small and you got to care for them, at those ages. But when you see that you everything, like for me, I know for myself, one of the things that I wanted to change with us is when we went just regular stuff like going to the store. Like I'm gonna take a ride to the store, and I just wanted to ride with her. I didn't want to take the kids. I didn't want to load everybody in the car. So with her, she would always say yes. If the kids say, can we come with you to the store? Can we come with you to the store? It was always yes. And I would say, no, let them stay. I just want to spend time with you. We're going to go to the store. So it has to be something that you both consciously make an effort to say, if my husband or my wife, if they're making an effort to say, this is what I want to do with just you, you know what I mean? Then it has to be a conscious effort that you're making to say, okay, this is a little bit of me time for me and my spouse, and we have to spend this time. So then it makes it easier for them to get used to those points where you say, okay, this is just mommy and daddy time.
Absolutely.
And it's not something that's foreign.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so. We don't have any biological children, but we are caretakers of our nieces and nephews. Mm-hmm. So I would say to a younger couple that you should probably listen to your mate, because at the time, if the person's making known that something's an issue or they would like to do a certain thing, because honestly, quite frankly, in the beginning, I really didn't listen that much because it's like, it's no big deal. We going to Stop and Shop. You know what I mean? And so you think like it's no big deal, but then it happens over and over and over and over. And those are the things that create tears within a relationship. So even though it's minor, it's to him, it's something. So you have to be able to listen and, play back those things. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal. But if it's a big deal for him, then it's kind of things that could create ripples within a relationship. So you just have to be open to listen and to try to adhere to those things that make your relationship work.
I think one of the challenging things, I've raised 2 children and they're both grown, and as they say, grown and gone. Yeah. But I think one of the things that we would do, we tried to, and it's very difficult, but we tried to keep them on a schedule. So after a certain time, it was always our time. And, you like trying to, put them to bed at a certain time and getting this done at a certain time. And then just basically saying, okay, it's us. What we doing? You want to watch a movie? You want to do this? You don't feel like nothing tonight? We good? So, it's really making time for each other. Now, when kids come in, sometimes people, one of the 2 sometimes starts feeling neglected because they see you pouring into this person that needs your care. But it's not just to ignore that person as well. Again, finding time to make time to let them know it's still me and you, boo, and working it out that way.
Well, kids, when we first had our son, we were still very young, and we were like, what are we gonna do? And he cried a lot, and we used to like put him in the car and drive around town to hopefully get him to fall asleep. We had no experience, so we didn't know what to do. But the bottom line is, kids give you new goals, and new goals that just enriches the relationship. The other part of that is that we love to travel. So we always made sure that, after a few months went by, we need to get away. We need to ask the grandparents to watch them, and we need to take a little trip. So we kind of figured out how to work that thing.
Right book on that, right?
That's good. Life and life experience blows. What helped keep the fire burning in spite of?
I would say that you just have to communicate. You have to communicate. You have to remain friends. You have to respect each other's differences, because like I'm an outsider. Like I want to go to the beach, be outside, and I want to go to the mall. I'm a free bird. I just want to be free outside. I want wind. I want air. I want to breathe. I want the sun on me. He's totally different. So his fire is watching a movie. He want to that that ain't really my thing. I can't do that, but I half an hour, I'm over it. I need to, So you really have to do what works best for the both of you. So it may be alternates, like I have to respect that he likes to do his movie thing. He likes to sit on the couch. He wants to do some ice cream. He want to make sundaes. And then I want to be a free bird. You got to call me to the beach. He hasn't done that this summer yet, but we're going to put it out there.
That's why.
He gonna get away with it.
But it's those kind of things. I think open communication, and that kind of open communication creates that intimacy where you trust that person trusts you. You're just open to communicate, know what you like, what you don't like, what those kind of things that keep the fire burning, I think.
Chris?
Keeping the fire burning. I mean, some things like she said, you definitely have to communicate. I know for myself with the whole. I know she's an extrovert. She likes to be out. I know that. And with me being, I'm a homebody. I can chill at home and not have to do anything. You know what I mean? And I'll be fine. I'll be totally good with it. I'm good with her presence. You know what I mean? That her presence does something. Like it's like how if you have a person they're in the room, they're right there, they're next to you, and you just chilling. Like we don't have to have a drawn out conversation or anything like that. Just your presence, just you being there. That's what makes a difference for me. You know what I mean? So if you communicate properly and you know what your mate is looking for or they desire from you, it makes it easier for you to kind of fall into, what their patterns are, those things that they're desiring from you. That makes it much more easier. Like I know that she loves to go to the beach. I'm just not feeling the beach right now because of Corona. But, I definitely will go to the beach with her, so that, she gets the time with me there that she needs.
Go ahead.
Can I just say one thing? In the beginning of our marriage too, we also used to go on vacation every single year, and that was definitely a big thing.
Yes.
Because you're away, you're stress free, you eating and you chilling, you're on the beach. There's no cares. So that is definitely big. We just haven't been able to do that in the past couple of years, but we definitely have to get back to that because that's definitely a big one. Absolutely big, without a shadow.
From your mouth to God's ears. You said it on social media. You got to get back to it.
Yeah.
Sayin?
Okay, I probably would say I agree with Chris and them in that the communication is very important. Because I mean, we've just been, we've been together so long. I just can't see anything else. But there are times when I'm like, hey, and I'll say, let's go out. Like I'll say we need a date night. And we may just say, even if it's just to the movies or just, you know what, let's get in the car. Let's just take a quick ride. So we'll just do something. And, if I say to him, he may not be feeling what I'm feeling, but if I share that with him, he'll say, okay, come on, let's go. Where do you want to go? Well, let's go out listening to some live music, whatever it is. He's always willing again to compromise and compensate. And I think once you let the other person know what your needs are, and they're always willing to, help you or be there for you to help you, release that. I think that's excellent. That's what we usually do. And travel is always a plus for us. We've traveled all our lives. So that's been like, woo. And this year we had a trip planned in July that didn't go. So we sad, but it is what it is, But I think just being friends makes everything so much better too, because he's my buddy. He's my right hand, and that just makes anything, I could say anything to him. I'm comfortable. So when I'm feeling like I just need a hug or I need this, he's like, okay, come on, he's very accommodating, shall we say.
Yeah, the travel part is definitely significant in our relationship because we both love to travel. I mean, we get very excited when we go to the airport and we're like going through all, security and all that, seats and start looking out the window. And then she'll have a song in her headphones. And I can remember we went somewhere and she had one headphone in her ear, and she put the other one in my ear, and we just like all happy like little kids. We see that plane taking off. I mean, that's just something that we share that we really love, travel. So the pandemic is very challenging for us, and we've had to lately find TV shows and little things that we can to take us away, like a plane ride used to.
If you have a treadmill, you could pretend you at the station.
We'll be walking every day around the circle. He got his headphones, I got mine. I said, let's do 2 miles, and we just get it in.
Yeah, we walk around our backyard. That's about it. That's as far as we go.
So what advice would you give a new married couple that's watching today? Either one of y'all can answer.
I mean, for me, myself, I think the first 10 years for us were like absolutely amazing. It's like we hit turbulence at maybe like 11, 12. So, and I think for me, I don't know if, for him, I think like the ideal of turbulence ever coming was just not relevant to me. Like I didn't think it could happen. When you have like a great run, you're like, I don't know why people get divorced, why people got problems. I don't know what they deal is, but we good, But it's those things that you have to keep in mind, and you have to put those landmarks there, those things that created that dynamic relationship, whether that was just traveling or talking or just being friends or, whatever those things are, whatever those mutual things that you may share, whether it's like reading together, listening to music together. I just think that you have to remember those landmarks and remember why you got married, why you chose this person. Make those things significant, because it will happen when there's times and there's trouble. So just don't think that it won't happen, because we didn't know why people get, and it's just, I was very naive to that. I don't know, could you say you were naive to that? Yeah. So I was very naive to that. And not to say you're naive to life, but just your relationship one-on-one. Mm-hmm. So those things do happen. So I just think that you have to create those landmarks for you. And as you're young in your marriage, I think you should write those things down, journal those things, just so that if you ever need a reference point, that you can go back to those things,
Mm-hmm. Chris?
Well, I would say definitely you have to make sure that you are connected and remain connected. There's something that happens when the Bible talks about the two shall become one flesh. To me, when I first, before, we got married, I was praying about it like, okay, you saying the two shall become one flesh. I need to understand exactly what that means. So basically what God showed me was we are two separate people becoming one united, basically
Right.
front. And so that process is never easy to become one because you taking my personality and her personality and we're meshing them together. When you start meshing those personalities together, that's a process. And you have to learn, I have to learn, what makes her tick, what makes her, what she doesn't like. She likes the fan on at night, she doesn't like it on in the morning, but it's little things like that that keep your relationship like in a certain place. I think when we first got married, we experienced like some heavy stuff right in the beginning of our marriage. Both of us lost our fathers like right at the same time, and so it wasn't something that we were expecting, but it also made us closer and it made us stronger. Um, when my father passed, she was holding me up, and in the midst of that, her dad passed away. So I had to put my hurt on hold to make sure that she was good. And in that process, it made us grow closer together, and it helped us to understand each other even more. You know what I mean? So when you are a young couple, it's good to make sure that you're learning what your mate, what makes them move, what makes them, lean back on you and just trust you in that way. So I think I would tell them just to make sure that they're paying attention to things that their mate is doing and then what they're saying.
Diane?
I want to say I believe that everybody should be friends. This is my friend, and we spend a lot of time learning about each other, but we also have to talk. We do things that we like to do. So I think you have to be able to communicate with your mate. You also have to be able to compromise because compromise is a big issue. The main thing is if they want, you just have to be open and let them know what type of person you are. And I think that's real important. When you're starting out new, you're not sure, well, if I do that, they might say this. You have to be your true self, but then also understand the person that you're with. Because like Chris was saying, you're two different people. Like Cameron and I are like totally night and day. I can tell you once we go to the same church, and what happened was he was in media and I was ushering, and it wasn't until they had a function at the church, and I was hysterical because he would drive his car and I would drive my car. We always met at home. Oh God, the sermon was good. And one day we went to a party, and then the church people, somebody said, "I know that's not your husband." And I said, "Why are you saying that?" They didn't even know we were all working in different ministries on different tangents, and they never even knew. So I thought it was the funniest thing. But it's just being, it's good when you got somebody you could talk to. I mean, in the beginning, everything's good is when it's new. But when it goes out, you still got to be able to say, "Hey, buddy, let's talk about this," or "Hey, I'm feeling this kind of way. What can we do about this?" Find something to do together. Sometimes we just do a project together, or just remember what got you together. Like we love to dance. So sometimes we put music on and say, "Let's get it," and just start dancing. And that just kind of keeps things going.
Yeah, compromise is the key. A few months ago, or maybe last year, she was binge watching this TV show called Suits.
I love it.
And it was just driving me crazy. I would be like, I said, I know I passed you like 2 hours ago and you were still watching your show. I'm like, what are you trying to do? He'd get upset and I'd get upset. So eventually I learned. And when she started watching Greenleaf, I said, you know what? I'm going to watch Greenleaf. And since we started watching that together and I enjoy it, and that made all the difference. And I think my father taught me something because he loved to bowl. And he used to go out on Monday nights and he would bowl and, you know, he'd come back a few hours later and my mother never complained. But I think one day it hit him, I'm going to teach this woman how to bowl. And that was the best thing he could have ever done because then it was something that they shared.
Mm-hmm.
And they went and they bowled together. Then they learned golf together. So compromise and doing things together. And the last thing I would tell a young couple, if everything else fails, go to counseling. Because I really believe that counseling helps. Because that's a situation where there's a third party there that's trying to be objective. You get to say your gripes, she gets to say her gripes, and then this person, if they're good, they're going to find a way to balance things out and to help you all out and to help you all get back on track.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So I know our topic today was what happens after a decade, after being married, all of these years to the same person. What happens next? In other words, what do your next look like?
Wow. I'm going to answer that one, I think. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to say this. I look forward to every day just being an experience with him. And since the pandemic, there is nobody else, you know. So it's me and him against the world. So we kind of like, you know, everybody says, "Oh my God, you've been married 39 years." I was like, "Yeah," but it's not a bad thing. I enjoy it. Whatever he likes, I like to do for him. He loves to eat, and I love to cook. So, things like that. And he's always like saying, "This is good." I said, "Oh, you're just hungry. That's all." But, it's whatever he likes to do, I like to do. Well, not always, but, it's good to find out what he likes. And I like to give that to him. And he does the same for me. And we just basically just be with each other. And that's like, to me, it doesn't get any better than this, because the longer you go, you just get more comfortable. You get more relaxed, but you always got to remember why you were with that person in the beginning. And as long as y'all keep doing those things, dating and dancing or whatever it is, I think that just makes the rest of it easy. So I'm looking forward to, I'm not going to say growing old because we are already old, but just growing together into new, into new things with him, because it's not over. We have a long way to go, and I think we still have a lot to learn about each other.
And there's nothing wrong with being bored. I mean, you're gonna have periods where it's gonna get monotonous, and you're gonna have a lot of days that everything's gonna seem like it's the same. But just hang in there. It's gonna change. Good things are gonna happen. You're going to get new things, new people that are going to come into your life, a new project or whatever. So, I mean, that's just life. I mean, there's going to be dull days, and then excitement's going to come into your life. So you just got to wait for it, and it's definitely going to come.
Keisha?
I agree. I think, like you said, you'll have dull days, you'll have exciting days, and it's just, me and Chris always call the marriage the great evolution, right? Because you're always growing. The same person that I was when we first got married 14 years ago, I'm certainly not that person in size, in anything, you know, in mindset and growth, you know. But as far as we are both entrepreneurs in spirit, so we've definitely been trying to attain some of those goals together collectively. So we've been working together with our nieces and relative to something, me and my writing and things like that, him and his graphics. So like this next phase, I think the pandemic has made us kind of want to streamline those things and just get them done, because prior to the pandemic, we were always busy, always moving, always going, always, you know, the ideas are in your head, but there's no specific time to do those things. So I think together we've been on the same road as far as like, you know, just making some of those things come into fruition right now. But otherwise, just marriage is something that you just have to continually work at to make it what you want it to be.
Yes.
And when it's not what you want it to be, you still have to work at it to make it what you want it to be. So basically, it's just something that you have to put time and effort and work into. If you want it and the way that you want it, you have to put the work and effort to make it to be what you'd like it to be and what makes you happy.
Right.
Definitely one thing I know is after 10 years, you definitely experience like shifting and changing. And of course, every day, you know, you're growing, you're evolving. But after a decade, there's like major shifting that takes place. So, you know, I'm not saying it in like a negative.
No,
way,
it's true.
It's just you have to make sure that you're paying attention.
39.
Because because there's some things that happen that you have to pay attention to, because they are critical to the movement that you're making after that decade, you know, once you cross that threshold. So you have to make sure that you're paying attention to what's happened, what's shifted, because there's some things that were there when you first got married that once you hit that decade, those things ain't coming back. You know what I mean? And you have to make sure that you're paying attention to know what things have, you know, moved beyond what you're going to next. And if you're paying attention to that, it'll make it an easier transition for you. That's one of the things I know for myself, that, you know, looking at where we are now versus 2006, you know, there's been a lot of major shifts. You know, we've experienced a lot of, when we first got together, we used to do this thing. We used to always do our first, you know, drive out of state together, or our first, you know, so we used to do all of these first. So one of the things we've been experiencing a lot of firsts still in our, you know, within the first 10 years of our marriage, you know, we've experienced, you know, first experiences in ministry together, you know what I mean? And me being able to do things as, you know, her person that has gone before her, you know what I mean? As far as what I've done in ministry, I went into ministry before she did. And, you know, it's just experiencing those things where I can have those conversations with her and be able to share those experiences. You know, those things are what I'm looking forward to, is like the next chapters of what we've already entered into. You know, that's what I'm excited about after 10 years.
So we have a whole lot of questions from the audience. So we're going to take some from the audience. The first question is, how did you know he or she was the one?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to be late, because, you know, I want to be.
You ready? How did you know Chris was the one?
Oh, he said you go first. Go ahead. I'm gonna defer to him.
Well, when I first of all, I met Keisha at church, and I didn't notice her at all until one day NJ said, "Really?" we were having a conversation. We were having a conversation in NJ's office, and she said, "You know Keisha?" And I was like, "Keisha? Who's that?" I don't know who she is. He's like, "You know Keisha?" She, you know, she started talking about her, and then she happened to come up into the office, and I looked at her, and I was like, "Now she been here this whole time? I haven't seen her."
That white Usher.
But upon like immediately, I'm just looking at her. There was something different. I had girlfriends before, but there was something that was majorly different about her when I saw her. So people will always ask me like, "Yo, how do you know?" Like 6 months, we were together 6 months, and I was already ready to propose. It wasn't no like, "Oh, we're gonna be engaged, we're gonna wait, we're gonna date for a certain period of time." To me, I didn't have to wait because I was already assured. I was confident that the decision that I was gonna make concerning her becoming my wife was gonna be right.
Come on here, Chris.
I didn't have to wait. God had already given me the assurance of who she was when I was able to see her. So when you meet that person, if people ask, how do you know that you've met the one? For a man, from a man's perspective, you already know, especially if you're, paying attention, you already know. You won't have to waste any time to say, "Oh, I need to get to know." That's a part of the whole relationship. We spend that time getting to know each other as time goes on, even more. But and it's something that you don't have to question once you experience it, especially when you meet that person that you gonna spend the rest of your life with.
So like Adam, when he looked at Eve, he was like, "Whoa,
Woo, that's hot,
that's
yes, yes, yes.
what you was gonna say, Keisha."
No, I was gonna say, from my previous relationships, I think it was just totally different. And I mean, to me, just praying, I think that God really, like, if I was to create a list of everything that I needed and wanted in a person, Chris was like above that. So God always exceeds your expectation because God knows you better than you know you. So there's some things on your list you may forget, but God knows exactly what you need. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think in that sense, he really allowed him to be, patient and just certain things that I needed. And I think our dating process it was as if I knew him before I knew him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like a getting to know him. It was like, oh my God, I know this person. So it was just different. It was different than everything that I was used to. Even in the courtship, it was like everything was just moving speedily. It just was God. Like I just knew it was God between the dreams and just different things. And God, he just confirmed it just from that. Like I feel like there's no hesitation. I always say that God gives you like spiritual stop signs or spiritual lights. The person you ain't supposed to be with, ladies, he ain't the one. You feel it in your soul and your spirit. Right away. I mean, maybe not right away, but and if you be like, no, you just don't know. And you just ignore those things because you want relationship. But with him and I think that everything it was just so cohesive. And we would just write for each other. And like I said, it just felt like we knew each other always. Like maybe we knew each other in a spiritual realm somewhere. And like we just knew each other. I just knew there was nothing in me that doubted. There was absolutely no hesitation. And I knew that I can trust him and I knew that I'll be able to honor him.
Diane.
Oh, I'm going to defer to him first.
Well, I met her at my grandmother's house. And my grandmother's house was not a place of excitement per se, And I just happened to walk into her living room and saw this woman with this curly hair and this beautiful face. And I was only 23 at the time. So I was like, man, you mean my running around days are over already? But no, she really had, her personality was so bubbly, just like it is now. And she was just like the kind of person that I just wanted to be around. And we always, from the time we first met and started going out, we always had fun together. So I kind of knew that, like I said earlier, I knew there was never a time where I said, I think I'll go away and see if I still want to be around her. I don't think have we ever been separated? So there you go.
Well, I don't know. Listen, when I first met Cameron, I really, to be honest, and this is kind of weird, but I never thought about a relationship. Like we were just having fun. We would go out. He was like, "What are you doing? Want to go get some Chinese food?" I'd be like, "Yeah." Want to go to the movie? Yeah. And then the next thing you know, because we dated 5 years before we got married. We've been together like a long time. But it's all been fun. It really, really has, because we would go places, and we just, everything we did was fun. And the bottom line was we liked being together. And I just never, I don't know. I never had this thing like, oh, I have to get married, or this is the one. I didn't know, but just being with him, it was like, and he kept saying, do you know we've been dating this long? I said, really? Like, he's like, wow. And I'm like, all right, but it just kept going and going, and we just kept enjoying each other and having a great time. So I have a different perspective. So, but I guess God knew what he was doing, because we still here.
So Keisha and Chris, a question for you too. How do you balance ministry and family?
Well,
I mean, when it comes to ministry takes a lot of work. It's just like a job. And there's been a lot of relationships actually broken or destroyed because of ministry. Because one person is now giving ministry more than they're giving marriage. So how have y'all two been able to balance the two?
well, for me, I know it's been easier to balance as far as what I have to do in ministry. It's been balanced because of who God made her. I'll say it like that. If I've tilted the scales too far to one side, I always have her. She sounds the alarm. So,
That's a nice way to put it.
Fine, girl. I don't mind.
I'm not saying that she barks, or she just makes noise
Right.
oh, you're doing too much. If I've tilted the scales too far, she sounds the alarm. You know what I mean? And I know that even with her responsibilities that she has in ministry, if the scales are tilted too far, I sound the alarm. You know what I mean? So we kind of check and balance each other. We keep each other in that middle space where everything is kind of balanced out. One of the things that I believe that destroys relationships when it comes to ministry versus the relationship is that we try to separate what we are from the relationship that we're in. Ministry is not something that you just do. It's a part of who you are. So if that's a part of who we are, then it's a part of our relationship. You know what I mean? So we have to make sure that we keep things in that special balance, because if we get outside of that, that's when things start to break down, and that's when things start to get lost, because we've lost the balance that we need to maintain. And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that I believe that people who are graced in ministry to be in ministry, that's what we're graced with. We are capable of keeping the balance.
Diane and Cameron, 39 years is a long time. How do you find your way back? So the question is, how do you find your way back when you find yourself losing yourself in the relationship? How did you manage to find your way back?
Well, I think I said earlier that there was a point in my life when, after a particular disagreement or a fight that we had, and I think I had maybe went out for a few hours, or even went to my brother's or something like that. I realized I don't want to be away from her. And once I came to the conclusion that there's never going to be a time where I'm going to want to leave this person. So when we do have disagreements, when we do have problems, I just wait it out. You know, I have a big house. You know, I'll go in the basement, you know, turn the TV on, watch something, you know, go in the backyard, do something. So I know how to go somewhere and create my own space and work on something. And then maybe the next day, you know, she might not even be speaking to me the next day. But the following day, there's gonna come a day when I have my favorite dish on the table, and I'm like, yeah, we're back.
Nisha, I'm gonna say it's really important to communicate because like sometimes you find yourself getting all caught up into doing everything for one person and making them happy, and then you kind of look at yourself like, what about me?
Right.
And then you have to think, why am I not doing what I want to do? And then you might say, hey, listen, I want to need to make time for this. Like if I want to give you an example, if I find like that for me, it's important. Fitness is very important. It always has been. So that's one of the things. Sometimes he gets lost in his music and I might get lost in that. But it's very important that I share that with him, that I'm doing this and I want you to do this with me and let's do this together. And I try to involve him in it. So I think involving him in it keeps us both in it together. And we just like a tag team. We try to do everything together, except God didn't bless me with a voice. So we worked on that though. I don't sing.
He's gonna be my DJ.
But I'm his DJ. I do have a job, okay? Really, just the two of us, working together. So whenever you feel lost, the thing is you have to tell the person that you feel lost and why. And then once you express that, the person's going to automatically come around and try to change that situation, or you work together to change it.
So to both couples, what is the most romantic moment you can remember out of the 14 and out of the 39 years? If you had to pick one.
Wow. I was going to say I have a lot.
You got to pick one.
Okay.
One that's just like,
okay,
wow.
I got one. Let me do it before I forget, because my mind is somewhere else. Okay. I can remember one time it was Valentine's Day and I was at work and my supervisor told me she needed to discuss something with me in the cafeteria. And I'm looking at her like, and she looked a little upset, like something was going on. And I was like, she's like, you're going to have to come now, and I was like, all right, I'm coming. So I'm going in the cafeteria and, there's other people eating and stuff, and she sits down at the table. She said, I need to talk to you about your performance. And I said, what performance? And then I know this guy comes in with the saxophone and starts playing You Are So Beautiful. And I bawled like a little kid. That was like the most. And all my friends was like, thank you. So that was I think the most romantic thing that he's ever done.
I was gonna say a trip, but actually, now that I think back, there was one spontaneous time that I came home and there were like rose petals, and we had a studio which was very small, and so there was like candles and just the whole bath set, because he knows that I like baths, and lavender and candles and sparkling cider. And I think what makes it most romantic is that it wasn't a specific occasion. It was just something that was thoughtful and done, just to show that you love the person, that you appreciate them. So outside of any special day, it wasn't Valentine's Day, it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't anything that warranted extra, but just when a person does that, just because it makes it extra special.
Mm-hmm.
Fellas, y'all want to say something?
Well, I can remember. I mean, I've had a lot of them because we've traveled a lot. But last year when we were in Punta Cana, we had a really nice place right near the beach, and we had a pool right outside where we were staying, and we had a butler.
Oh, yeah.
And
There's not waiting for my butler right now.
and the butler was real cool, and he said to me, "Hey man, what do you need me to do?" And I said, "Well, we're going out for the evening, but if you could like we had a jacuzzi, we had steps leading up to a rooftop type deal." And I said,
Oh, y'all was doing it.
if you could fill that jacuzzi up and put bubbles in there and have a bottle of champagne waiting and put rose petals up the steps leading up, that'll be awesome. And then when we came back from wherever we were, and she came in and saw that and started walking up those steps, and I had my phone. I still got the video of her walking up those steps, and then she saw all those bubbles, and I don't know, is this a family show? Should I say the
That was really romantic.
It was romantic.
Chris.
Nice.
Well, for me, like me, I'm not like, you don't have to do like major stuff. Like for me, little stuff, there's little things that kind of carry a lot of weight with me. So I love good food. And Keisha, one day, like she cooked, I think she made chicken parmesan for the first time. Like she cooked it, like she went and got the chicken, and she was like, oh, we were still living in our studio apartment. And she was like, don't do nothing, don't come over here. You can't, I'm cooking, I'm doing something. It's a surprise. She wouldn't let me know what she was making. And so she was like, no, you just stay over there. And when she finished cooking it, it was all prepared. She had plated it up, and, she put it on the table. And it was just like all of the effort that she put into that, like to me, like that just melted my heart, because I was like, you did all that for me? And she just, it was just the joy of her doing that. I felt so that was really like a really romantic, gesture.
Had candles.
Yes, yeah. She had candles.
I'm getting back.
Don't forget about my candles. We on TV, Chris. Add the candles. That's good. So, from both relationships, from both being brought up in two different eras, because we're coming close to our time, we got about 6 minutes left. Mm-hmm. So, what would be something you would give as a imprint? What has imprinted your relationship that you would like to imprint somebody else's with? So in other words, what was the most important advice that somebody gave you that you would give and take that same advice and pass it to someone else? What would it be?
Does it have to be something that someone gave you?
It doesn't necessarily have to be something someone gave you, but
okay.
What advice that would you pass on? If you could only tell this couple one thing,
okay,
you had 30 seconds. You were riding up in an elevator. You got 36 seconds to tell them one thing. What would you tell them?
I would say sometimes I'm sorry, were you going?
I was just going to say stay in love.
Oh.
Everything is surrounded by love. And I love this guy, and he loves me. And I think that's what keeps our marriage going from day to day.
Keisha?
I wasn't going to say that, but that is very good, and it's primary.
What you going to say in the elevator? What you going to say?
She just got me with that. I'm going to say, go with her, girl. Go with her. But anyway. What I was going to say is just to pay attention. I know like a lot of times, and initially when we first were married, Chris would he worked on the train. He needed like downtime, right? When he got home, he just needed to unwind. He needed an hour. And initially, I didn't realize it was just what he needed. I thought it was like, what did I do? Why what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? There's nothing wrong. And like those kind of things. Or if the person does something that constantly ignores you, I just think everything is just not a battle. Just know that in marriages, sometimes people fight and make fuss over the smallest things where you just know, like he just knows, like sometimes I'm just extra verbal, right? Well, like sometimes you just be quiet, Keisha, you just be quiet. But it's those things that, like I know that this is her. I'm not going to take it personal. She just does it. So I think, to me, I learned that every battle is not war. That's what I would leave them with. Mm-hmm. Some things you could just, you let it pass just because you know what I mean? So.
Chris?
Wow. I think I'll kind of piggyback on what she was saying, is that you have to pay attention. If you pay attention, there's certain things that you won't miss, that you won't forget about, that you won't let lapse, because you're paying attention. If you're paying attention to movement, to communication, as far as what's being said to you, how they're communicating, how your partner is communicating with you, those type of things play a big role if you're paying attention. If you're paying attention, when there's a inflection, there's a rise in the tone, there's a shift in the eyes. If you're paying attention, you know that there's something that I need to be present. You know what I mean? So if I could give anything to any couple starting out, or any couple that's even dealing with issues or problems, pay attention to what's happening, because those type of things are what makes or breaks your relationship sometimes.
Cam?
I would say, again, compromise, because, sometimes you can be in a place where you don't realize that you're dominating the situation. It's everybody thinks about themselves a lot. But if you keep compromise somewhere in your mind, it kind of balances things out, and it's her turn.
That's good.
And I'll leave it at that.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say one last thing. Initially, when him and I got married, there was a marriage ministry within our church, and we were just married for 2 years. And I think that was one of the most important things that we had experienced in our marriage. And I say that because we realized that there were a lot of issues that were gender specific. A lot of the women had the same things going on. A lot of the men had the same thing going on. So us being in that environment, seeing somebody who was married, for instance, 39 years, 17 years, 16 years, 10 years, 2 years, kind of experiencing the same issues, it helped us to know that it wasn't just us, that it's something that is a part of marriage. So if you could find yourself a nice group of people that are married and have the same goals, it'll be very useful and helpful and beneficial in your marriage.
Again, I'd like to thank my panelists for joining me on tonight. I really, really, really enjoyed both couples. So before we go, I'm going to take this opportunity for y'all to say something to all of those that's watching. Tell us what you got going on. Tell us where we can find you at on social media. So we're going to go with Keisha and Chris first.
I have a lot of things that I'm in the process of doing, so I don't have anything right now to give you, but you can find me at Lakeisha Jackson-Buckley on Facebook, and Prayer and Praise on Instagram.
Cool. I'm always doing graphics, so that's my thing. I'm on Instagram at I'm a Graphics Man. It's IMMA_graphics, GRAPHIX_man. I'm also on Facebook, Chris Buckley. So anything that I have going on, or if anything that I'm working on, I'll post up. So you can find me on those spots.
Actually, Chris did the graphics for I'm Just Saying, so I have to give him a little shout out. And he actually created that logo up in the corner for NJ Productions. Diane and Cameron, which I got going on?
Well, I'm a singer-songwriter. I recently came out with an album called Freedom of Expression, and the album wasn't supposed to come out until August, but when the pandemic hit, I said, you know what? I need to hurry up and get this thing out because I don't even know, the world is getting real crazy. But
Mm.
it's like most of my music it has messages. So it'd be nice if people checked it out, especially right now, because ironically, a lot of the songs I wrote before the pandemic are speaking to that. Like I have a song called "Behind the Mask," for example.
Mm.
And if you go to CameronWade.com, CameronWade.com, you'll see my music and my bio and other stuff like that. And we have a show that we're working on where my DJ is going to work with me called Cameron Wade's Lemonade, which is based on the pandemic. When God gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So we're
Good.
working on that now.
Diane?
I'm just here. I'm not doing anything. I'm chasing little people. That's my thing.
Okay. Again, I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for joining me on tonight. Please like us on Facebook. Continue to follow NJ Productions Inc. Follow NJ Productions Inc. on Instagram. Subscribe to NJ Productions Inc. on YouTube. You can also now see us live, not just on YouTube and Facebook, but we're now on Periscope and Twitter live. So you can check us out on any of those social media channels. Again, continue to share, tell a friend, and watch the show. It's your host, NJ. I'll tune in next week for another episode of I'm Just Saying. Bye-bye.
Thank you.